Welcome to North Carolina's Modern News Network, where we share progressive news from the new decade of change, the 1960s.
In the thick of the civil rights struggle, a new generation has taken center stage. They're young, determined, and they mean business. We're talking about the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC for short, founded just this year in 1960 by a bold group of college students tired of the same old Jim Crow song and dance.
These students aren't marching with fists, they're marching with faith. Faith in the power of nonviolence. And they've taken that fight right to the lunch counters.
That's right, a simple cup of coffee becomes a battle for fundamental human rights.
It all started on February 1st in downtown Greensboro at a Woolworth's lunch counter. 4 young fellas from North Carolina A&T College, Ezell Blair Jr., David Richmond, Franklin McCain, and Joseph McNeil strolled into the Woolworths, sat down at the whites-only lunch counter, and politely asked for service. They didn't get served, but man, did they get heard.
The sit-in spread faster than a 45 spin per minute record on the jukebox. By the end of the week, dozens had joined. By spring, it was a full-blown movement. In Nashville, Tennessee, Diane Nash and James Lawson, students, picked up the baton, organizing sit-ins that rocked the city's downtown. Despite arrests and violence, these cool cats kept their cool.
I agree. Elsewhere, SNCC activists are keeping the pressure on. In Rock Hill, South Carolina, they launched the Jail No Bail campaign, choosing to serve time rather than pay fines to a system they say is broken. And in Atlanta, Georgia, students coordinated sit-ins across the city's diners and cafeterias. Our interviewer Kyle Busby spoke to a local citizen about their opinions on local students taking the charge against racial segregation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kyle Busby, and I'm here with Miss Susan discussing her opinions. What was your reaction to seeing these students acting so directly?
Well, honestly, I was quite appalled. I mean, I didn't know you could protest like that, just sitting there doing nothing. I mean, it's obviously protest, but it's just, I don't see what's wrong with it, but I know what's wrong with it. I feel like everyone should stay in their place because we all know it, and it's the proper place to be, as we've been told.
Have you seen anything like this before?
No, I've read about this in Greensboro's papers, but I've never seen it in person, and seeing it in person was, I always imagined it would be scary, but it wasn't. And it not being scary was quite an interesting, thing, because I always assumed, if I see it, I need to run away from it and be scared, but it just seemed like nothing, and yet everyone was yelling and everyone was going crazy, but the people sitting at the table.
How do you think this compares to other demonstrations happening across the South?
I mean, it's a lot different than what's going on in Alabama, in smaller, but they're still fighting for very big causes over something that's wrong, that's been happening over a very long period of time. But we've never been told it's wrong. They believe it's wrong, and it's not wrong. It's just they don't believe in their place and they want to find a new one. But I feel like we should just stay in our places.
Some folks say these students stir up trouble, while others call them heroes. Where do you stand?
It's not as bad as other places, and I feel like they just have a cause and are fighting for it. It's like in an essay, when you argue that milk tastes better from this brand instead of this one. It's just your opinion and you're arguing for it. And they're not arguing for it by attacking, they're arguing for it by protesting.
50 years from now, how will people reflect on what's happening today?
Well, I mean, it could be completely different, and this could be something revolutionary inside a history book, oh my God, this is how life used to be. Or what I think, just personally, is that everything's gonna remain the same. People are gonna come back to their senses and be like, this is my place, this is where I belong.
If you've been living under a rock for the past few weeks, you probably haven't been seeing the eyes on Washington, D.C. On August 28, 1963, more than 200,000 Americans, black and white, young and old, marched peacefully on the nation's capital. The March on Washington was led in a part of a Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC. For short, the organization born from the Montgomery bus boycott and led by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a man who became a symbol for peaceful resistance. Dr. King, along with other leaders from the Big Six civil rights organizations, called Americans to rally for justice, urging Congress to pass a sweeping civil rights bill. The crowd gathered at Lincoln's Memorial, a powerful backdrop to a powerful message. Tonight, as the sun sets at Washington, it rises on a renewed movement. The Southern Christian Leadership Conference and its leaders, Dr. King, have helped America take one bold step closer to the promise of liberty and justice for all. Like the promise our founding fathers and when we pledged our allegiance to the flag.
In this so-called modern era of the 60s, there remains an ugly truth simmering just beneath the surface. Lynchings and wrongful accusations continue to plague parts of our nation, particularly in the Deep South. Just last month, on a highway near Athens, Georgia, Lieutenant Colonel Lemuel A. Penn and two others, all World War II veterans, were innocently driving home from Washington, D.C. 3 white Ku Klux Klan members were lying in wait, fueled by hate and the false ideas of racial supremacy. As veterans passed the sleepy Georgia town of Athens, the Klansmen gave chase, their hearts filled with rage at the sight of 3 African-American men in uniform driving free on southern roads. This was just 9 days after the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Lieutenant Colonel Lemuel A. Penn, husband, father, and decorated war veteran, was gunned down with a shotgun blast through his car window. His crime? None. His threat? Only the perceived color of his skin. The FBI investigated, and 2 Klansmen were eventually brought to trial. Not in a Georgia state court, but in a federal court under the new Civil Rights Act. It marked a rare moment in federal intervention of racially motivated justice. Yet even then, justice stumbled, convictions were few, and sentences light. The message was clear. Black lives remain cheap in the eyes of many Southern white juries. Penn's killing is one of too many. From the backroads of Mississippi to the cotton fields of Alabama, countless Black Americans have been falsely accused, brutally beaten, or lynched just for speaking up, others for simply walking down the wrong road at the wrong time. In this age of satellites and presidential debates on TV, how can we still be living with the noose and the mob? The United States government must decide. Will it protect all its citizens or just a privileged few? And we, the American people, must ask, what kind of nation do we want to be? Tonight, we remember Lieutenant Colonel Lemuel Penn as not a victim, but as a patriot murdered on American soil, not by foreign enemies, but by fellow citizens poisoned by hate. His death is a wound to our democracy and a call to conscience that cannot be ignored.
In communities across this nation, ordinary citizens are standing up, peacefully, powerfully, against justice. This is the story of a movement, the Civil Rights Movement.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation.
At the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. addressed the crowd of thousands. His words would echo across time and change America forever.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
The dream was not born in Washington alone. In Montgomery, Alabama, one woman refused to give up her seat and sparked a revolution.
The driver said that if I refused to leave the seat, he would have to call the police, and I told him, just call the police. I had decided that I would have to know once and for all what rights I had as a human being and a citizen, even in Montgomery, Alabama.
From bus boycotts to marches, sit-ins to speeches, this was a movement shaped by courage, by voices both mighty and humble.
Stop riding the buses until we are treated as any other passenger.
You want to stop the segregation on these buses?
Yes, that's true.
Let us not forget these moments, these voices, this dream. The struggle for equality is not over, but the bravery lit the way, and we the people must carry the torch forward. Thanks for watching this week's episode of North Carolina's Progressive News Network. Don't forget to tune in weekdays at 9 to keep up to date with the latest fight against segregation. Signing off, this is Kyle Busby along with Catalina Baraya, Jackson Heffler, and Sofia Remnant.